you know, it's all an act, and I hope I haven't offended anybody. And some people who were fans of yours said, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't get out of character.
Yeah, you really do your homework, yeah. I've had that by many reviewers saying, oh, Rickles cops out at the end. I do a little piece at the end, which I've done for many years. And I'm not copping out. I'm just saying to the guy that's sitting there, the average guy, that I'm a guy just like anybody else. And this was a party, and I was having some fun at the party, and now the party's over, and I hope you got to know me as the guy at the party and as a human being. And that's all I try to say. And a lot of people say, he doesn't need that. I ought to go off with, you know, as some of these guys today are doing with, you know, let your mother get hit by a bus. I'm cleaning it up. But, you know, it's, I feel that it deserves that, and I think the audience, I owe that to the audience, and I believe in it. So if you believe in something, you got to stay with it.
What was the deal with Jack Parr in Miami, where some bit was set up, but...
I wanted to be on, I was working in a place called Murray Franklin's, which, again, gave me some, like the Slate Brothers, gave me a little reputation in Florida. That time, Larry King, by the way, throwing that in, Larry King had a radio show on a houseboat. And that's how Larry and I became friends. I used to run over there and do his show at 5 in the morning, you know. Anyway, so we were in Florida, and Jack Parr came down there on location at the Roney Plaza. And everybody said, you got to get this hot kid in Miami. He'd be great on your show. And you know, Jack Parr, who I got to know personally through High Everback, a friend of mine, socially, and lovely man. He said, gee, Don, I remember that. I didn't know the kind of guy you were, and so forth. And they said, put him on, and they made me a cab driver. And Jack Parr had no idea what I was going to do. And Jack Parr was doing his, folks, I'm here in Florida, and I had to come out with the cab. It's so ridiculous. With the cab driver, knowing him, the man was in shock when he saw my face, you know. And I had on the cab driver hat. Bob and I walked out, I said, hey, Jack, sweetheart, boom, you want a cab? I'm going to help you. And you're a beauty. Honeysuckle rose, baby, boom. And he went, what are you doing? And I went, like I'm doing now. Hey, Jack, it's great. I'll give you a cab ride right up to Collins Avenue. You with me, baby? You're a sweet. Get some broads and booze. Why are you on here? And I went right in the dumper. And I stood there and I said, my career is ending. This man is ending my career. And my mother, God rest her soul, was up in the balcony and she said, oh my God, he's through. And the audience was all senior citizens sitting there going, what a wise guy, what a wise guy. This wise guy. And that was a disaster.
Didn't someone let Parr in on the joke?
No, I don't think at that time he knew. They said there's a guy that's going to pick on you. But he had no idea that it was going to be like that. And I had no idea he was going to react like that. And I looked into his eyes. You know how you look into a guy's eyes and his eyes said, you're dead. It's over. It's all over for you. And I just looked at him and flop sweat. In those days, I would be soaking wet when I said good evening, no matter where I went. If I sat in a restaurant with my mother, I said good evening, and the waiter said, I'll give him a napkin. The guy's, he's on Guam. I was soaking wet all the time. I don't know why. I keep looking over there, and there's nobody there. I'm looking in. I feel like I'm George Shearing. Hello, anybody? You know.
Someone go stand over there, huh?
I keep looking over into darkness.
What about the Ed Sullivan Show? It was sort of the same thing, right? You were going to come out and surprise him?
Beauty. Bob Precht said, listen, Ed Sullivan said, you know, I don't want to do impressions, but knowing Ed, he was a classic. He really was. And a good friend. He said, you know, what are we going to do with Rickles? We can't. He doesn't do jokes. We got to put him on a show. Put him on a show, and it'll be fine. What can we do? So Bob Precht came up with an idea, which I didn't think was bad at the time, that every time they'd bring out an act, I'd run out on stage and tell Ed how wrong this act was for him and how he should never use this act again. And we'd do that as a running gag. And at that time, Ed Sullivan was the biggest thing in the world. I said, oh, what a break for me, and that'd be great. It was at Circus at that time. And I'll never forget it. You know, had the swinging acrobats and the clowns and all. It was the tumult of all time. And the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And now, the Bonzini monkeys, whatever the hell it was, you know. And the monkeys come out and they do their whole thing, and they do tricks and boom, 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 boom. And I'd run out on stage and go, Ed, I got to tell you, the monkeys don't make it, you don't look good with the monkeys, and get rid of the monkeys. Why don't you get off the stage? What are you, stupid or something? Those monkeys are marvelous. You're not funny. The monkeys are a riot. And I walked in the wings and I went, what? What is he doing? He's not supposed to say that. And the guy says, no, he'll catch on. I walked out again. I had some, you know, prancing horse or something. I said, you don't need the horse. The horse is ruining you. He's prancing. He's too loud. You're dynamite, Ed. Get rid of the horse. The horse is marvelous, and you're getting on my nerves. I get off the stage, and I went in the wings. Why? Why is he doing this? And it went like that until I was right in the dumper again. And I went back to the hotel with him, and I said, he said, you were marvelous. What a show we had. I said, Ed, you ruined me. And that was that.
What debt, if any, do you owe to Jackie Leonard, who was a little bit before you, and he used to do some insult stuff himself?
Interesting you'd say that. Jack was a good friend, and he always said, you're doing me, kid, you're doing me, which was not the case, because Jack always felt that I was doing him, but Jack was a jokester. He really did, one-line puns, you little cocker, your mother suck a bathtub, whatever, and people go, ah. And I didn't work like that. I did more or less just talking in general without leading to a joke, and the joke came out of the conversation, if that makes sense. But that's pretty much, and he was a one-line machine gun kind of thing, and I'm a machine gun kind of guy when I work, but it doesn't come out as a joke as Jack's did. Jack's were primarily jokes. That's the best way I can describe it.
Early in your career, didn't you open for Louis Prima?
Yeah, well, the word is, I really can't say I opened. In those days they called it sets. For the lack of another word, opening's fine. But I mean, I went on at Louis Prima was the star in the lounge. We worked over a bar, no big, with short little bar with maybe 10, 15 people in front of you. And, they were missing their mouth. They had the she crowd going, belching on the socks. And so, and I would go on at midnight, and then Louis Prima would be with Keeley, would go on. He was marvelous at 2 in the morning. And then I would go on again at like 3:30, and then again like 5 in the morning. 5 in the morning I don't remember. I used to go on at
5 in the morning?
Yeah, but with a few vodkas, I used to just stand out there and say, how was the show?
What would the audience look like?
Derelicts. There was a lot of this. Rose, isn't he great? But it was a show, and they'd have a steam table, and they would be serving breakfast while you were on. I mean, guys were having eggs going, Charlie, pass the rolls, and you were up there telling us some dumb remark, and the guy going, more eggs, and the chef was hitting the steam table.
And these are really the degenerate gamblers who just kind of have been up around the clock, and they're waiting for the casino to open again, or the guy to come back to deal again at the blackjack table.
Oh yeah, fanatic gamblers. Yeah, they'd stay up all night and all day, bloodshot eyes, and they were there. But I got news. It was an experience. And at that time, in the lounge, Shecky Green was the first guy to really make it happen in the lounge in those days. And then I came along. And then little by little, many other performers worked. But it was really standing over a bar. That's really concentration to get people. And I used to jump over and run into the casino. I'll never forget it. And the guys are gambling, and I'd say, hold it! Hold it! Stop the gambling! It's too noisy! And they'd all go. And everybody in the casino stopped. Similar to Sinatra when I made him stop. He was sitting with well, it's in the lounge of the Sands. We were sitting together, and he was sitting at another table with all security around him, and I was with this girl, classy. I've told this story many times. Classy girl, lipstick over to here, and I was single and in terrible heat, I was looking for an old monkey, anything, bad shape.
It's good that you reveal yourself this way, though.
Oh yeah, well, nobody watches this. If I thought anybody was watching, would I be telling you this? Anyway. So I was there with this girl, and she said, do you know Frank Sinatra? And I figured, she says, yeah, it's a big chance for a score here. I said, yes, I do. And she said, well, if I could beat him. I said, sweetheart, it's done. And I walked over to Frank on my knees, and I went, Frank, psst, if you could come over to the table and just say hi to me and the girl, it would help me. He said, you got it, kid. And he walked over to the table, make a long story short, and the violins.